Hey everybody, Robert and Amanda. We are with Cooking with Recipes, and today we are at the Studio 5 Productions kitchen, aka my house. And what we're going to do is make a simple meal today with black bean tacos and a Mexican rice that I do. This recipe, you can't buy it on Amazon. This is my own special recipe that I learned from my grandma. So Amanda, what's the goal for today? Why are we doing black beans instead of hamburger?
So we're trying to give you guys some ideas of ways that you can still have healthy, delicious meals, but a plant-based option. You don't have to be a plant-based person to enjoy having plant-based meals every once in a while. It's good to cut out some animal products every few meals or so.
Exactly. Yeah, absolutely. And you never know, someday there may not be animals for us to eat, or we may not have the availability to eat them, or you may not know how to kill them and process them to eat. So there will always be fruits and vegetables, hopefully, and so we can replace a lot of that meat stuff with this. So I'm going to go ahead and start with the Mexican rice. The reason I'm sitting down, I know you're all asking, is I'm way taller than Amanda, so I figured if I was sitting down, it kind of puts us at the same height. And then, so I'm going to switch places with her. So we're just going to start with a large saute pan. Now today we're using the Copper Chef induction cooktop. So you don't have to have special pans for this, but it helps to have a pan that has some kind of a metal bottom. If it's an aluminum bottom, it will not work. So we're going to set that to high. Now for all these recipes, they will be tagged below the video, so you can download them. We will be having this on our YouTube channel and also on our Facebook page. So those will be listed below, and also our dogs are here, so they're running around as well. So if you see them in the camera, it's okay, right? Mm-hmm. We're at home. We're cooking the way everybody does at home. So we're going to let that heat up. While that's heating up, and before I put the rice in, I'm going to chop 1/2 of an onion. So it's just a rough chop. It doesn't have to be super even or super fancy. I am not Rachel Ray. So just a nice rough chop. Watch your fingers.
Wouldn't be plant-based if we're eating fingers.
Sure, that would not be plant-based. And I don't think it would taste good.
No.
So those of you that were wondering, Amanda is my daughter, so we have fun together.
Yes, we do.
We'll put that on sear real quick. So sometimes you forget to turn the heat on. It happens. It's not a big deal.
That's all right.
So what's that?
Being authentic.
Exactly. So with the rice recipe, it's 1 cup of rice. It's 1/2 of an onion, and I'll brown the rice until it's at the color that I like, and then I'll add the onion to it, get a little saute on that for about 90 seconds or so. I'm going to add some chopped garlic to that, and then I'm going to add tomatoes and chilies with some onion in that, and we just use Rotel. Super simple, easy to use. Bring that up to a boil, cover it. When it gets to a boil, then I'm going to move that over to the other stove and let it simmer for 20 minutes. Alright, so in the pan we have 4 tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil. I'm going to add 1 cup of just white rice. You could use wild rice if you want, but I don't think that would be good at all. So I like to use my white rice. And I'm looking for... Alright, let's take a spatula, move it around. Yes, old school, 1970s version, I think. I don't know. Not even sure where we picked it up. But old kitchen utensils tend to work the best in my mind. They're not always... Okay, so I decided to sit down because I noticed the camera was cutting half of my head off. So the rice is starting to brown. It's getting to a nice color that I like. I'm going to go ahead and add the onion. And it's going to smell amazing in here any second. So I'll stir that around a little bit. while that is sauteing up a little bit, I'm gonna go ahead and chop up my garlic. So I have 3 cloves. I think the recipe asked for, is it on the recipe?
It's not. I feel like you can make it towards your liking.
Yeah, so I guess it's not on the recipe that I initially wrote, but I'm gonna fix that before I post it. And I usually add about 3 or 4 cloves of just rough chopped garlic. It doesn't have to be minced or anything special. You can get it out of a jar if you want. I just like fresh garlic myself, so we'll chop that up. Go ahead and get that in. Good for the immune system.
Definitely.
Plus it adds great aroma and flavors to your food. Mix that up. Now as you can see, it's getting nice and brown. This is going to simmer for 20 minutes after it comes to a boil, so I'm not worried about the onions getting over sauteed. They can be nice al dente or still pretty crispy. Okay, so there, I'm happy with that. I'm gonna go ahead and add 1 can of Rotel. Mix that up. Let that come to a real quick boil. We're gonna add 1 can, or about 1 1/3 cups of water. We're gonna bring that to a boil. We're gonna add about a teaspoon or so of salt, a little bit more, bam, and about a teaspoon or so of cumin. Now if you don't like cumin, that's perfectly fine. You don't have to use it. I like cumin in all of my Mexican food. So we'll just mix that around a little bit. We're going to let that come to a boil. Alright, so the rice is boiling just the way I would like it to, so I'm going to go ahead and shut the heat off here. I'm going to go ahead and move this pan over to the stove. The stove's on simmer. I'm going to cover. I'm going to set a timer for 20 minutes. And we do that like this. Hey Google, set a timer for 20 minutes.
Okay, 20 minutes. And that's starting now.
And here we go.
Okay, so now we're going to prepare the black beans for black bean tacos. We went pretty simple today to try to keep things really affordable. Beans and legumes in general are very affordable, which is something that keeps plant-based diets something that everyone can do. So a can of beans generally costs around $1, depending on if you go with a store brand or if you go looking for organic options. They get a little more expensive, but it should never be over $1.50. Generally, since they are canned already, you can heat a little bit of oil to do a refried type. So we are going to just keep this somewhat oil-free since we used oil in the rice. Okay, so we use 1 can of black beans. You could easily cook dry beans. They're still a more affordable option than canned even, but legumes are all pretty cheap. Use a little bit of salt in here.
Do you like kosher salt or
Generally,
what kind of salt do you use?
At home, at my home, we usually use pink Himalayan salt, but I do like kosher salt, sea salt. Sometimes we will add iodized salt because as plant-based eaters, we don't get a ton of iodine in our meals because we do not eat a lot of fish, or seaweed is another thing that you generally can find iodine in. Okay, so I just took out a portion of the beans and we're just gonna do some light mashing.
She's left-handed, so you gotta have a little bit of patience. I don't think that's a left-hand potato masher, but she seems to be doing pretty good. Now at work, at our other job, she all we have is right-handed scissors, so she has to cut anything. Yeah, it's a challenge. It's fun to watch, but I see the challenge.
Yes. Okay. So you can cook your beans with whatever you like to. Sometimes at home we'll throw fresh garlic and onion in there, powdered garlic and onion, whatever we have on hand. depending on what time of year it is and who all is eating it, because I have an 8-year-old son that does not like spicy food. We will add green chilies, jalapenos, green peppers, red peppers, whatever, to just give the beans some other flavors. So I noticed our beans look a little dry, so I'm just gonna add a little bit of extra virgin olive oil. Just give them a little bit of moisture. Something you can cook it with too. If you're going to cook it that way, then you can add the oil to the pan and let it come to temperature. Then you can add the beans right to it. That would be how you make refried beans.
Are you done with this?
I am done with the masher. Thank you, Dad. Okay.
You need anything chopped up here?
Let's see. For this, I will probably add a little more salt.
Okay.
Oop, making a mess.
Left-handed.
Yep. Definitely not right-handed, that pinching. Okay, so then it's just kind of personal preference. Whatever you like your beans to be texture-wise. They still look dry to me, so don't want to be chewing on paste.
Paste is a waste.
That's right. Okay. And then the second thing that I like to add to black bean tacos is tomatoes, corn, and chili. So we just went again and grabbed a can of Rotel for this.
There's your Rotel.
Thank you. I drained half the liquid off of the Rotel,
There's some
and then
corn.
we just did a can of corn. This keeps everything very simple. We'll do that medium heat again. Okay, so I'm just gonna add the corn in here. So we drain the corn. So we got the corn nice and browning here. Starting to smell good. Okay, so I'm gonna add this Rotel. Okay, thank you. Give that a good stir. So I usually find that a pinch of salt will bring really good flavor out of the tomatoes. So add some salt to that.
Alright, well that's finishing up. I'm going to chop some cilantro. Again, this is one of those herbs that not everybody likes. Google stop. Very good. What would we do without Google?
So another thing I like to add to my beans generally would be garlic. We'll just do some powdered garlic since we did not add any fresh.
I'm just opening up the taco shells because it is about time to eat.
That's right. Add about a teaspoon of water to the beans just to give them a little more moisture.
Alright, well while she's doing that, I'm going to go ahead, the timer went off, we're going to check the rice out. I'm going to come over to the camera. So this is what the rice is going to look like.
It smells so
A
good.
little wet still. Sometimes it can be a little wet. If it is, you can actually put it back on the stove. Turn the heat up just a little bit, and let the rest of that water boil off a little bit. So usually when I'm doing that, I'm doing it on the same burner. So when I turn the heat down to simmer, it still stays hot for a while. This time I took it off of a hot induction cooktop and put it onto a stove that was already at that simmer temperature. So lesson learned. I will not make that mistake again.
So we're gonna separate
rice.
some of this out because our bean to corn and Rotel ratios would be pretty off. We're also not feeding an army or even the whole family right at the moment. So we'll have some extra on the side if either of us want to add it onto the top of our tacos. But yes, very simple. Okay, so to reheat the beans now, we'll just add it in here. There's still a little bit of liquid left, it looks like. We'll get these together. No bean left behind.
No, definitely not. Beans are the magical fruit.
That's right. So I'm just gonna combine these here. At the moment I have the stove top off because it's still warm, but we don't want to burn anything now. I'm just gonna get these combined together pretty well, and you can see there's texture to our beans. Some of them are mashed, some of them are still whole. Okay, so I'm going to assemble our tacos. This is our bean and corn Rotel mixture.
And while she's doing that, I'm going to show you what the rice looks like in the pan. And what I do is I just take a fork and fluff it. Make sure it's not stuck to the bottom. Then I take a little bit of cilantro, if you like it. Sprinkle it on. And there you go. It is ready to serve. And a spoon. While she's doing that, we'll spoon some up. Oh, there's my plate. There's a plate right there. There we go. All right, get that out of here.
All right, and then you can just top your tacos with whatever you like. So I do have a shell stuffed for you, and you put as much as you like in there. Generally at home we use soft shell because that's
A little onion.
yeah.
We'll do a slice of this green stuff, as my grandson calls it. Just pass me the green stuff.
That's right.
Like me a little avocado.
Me as well.
Very good.
Take these. Cheese. There we go.
Sweet.
Okay.
All right. Happy Taco Tuesday to
Woo!
you. Happy Taco
All
Tuesday
right.
to you. Enjoy.